Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. I didn't know everything that being a single mom entailed. Having to figure out how to afford childcare, how to work full-time, how to, just balance life.
We met. A year later, I proposed to him, and then a month after that, he enlisted in the military, and then 2 weeks after that, we bought the house, and then we found out we were pregnant, and it was like bam, 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 and it didn't stop.
Yeah, it still hasn't stopped.
Bubblegum in a dish. How many pieces?
I have 3 kids. They're all under the age of 8. So I work 3 jobs just to make ends meet.
Experts say energy bills shouldn't exceed 6% of income.
Okay, you guys ready?
Most Americans spend 3.5%, but for many, that number is more like 20 to 50%.
It's due on the 3rd.
Approximately 30% of our income go towards our energy bill.
Inefficient heating and cooling, lack of weatherization, and older appliances add to the burden.
In 20 days, I'll be out of a job.
I'm scared of how we're going to support a family of 4. This is a new one.
I would say rent, utilities, and food.
Well, I think the 4th expense would be kids.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Towards the end of my pregnancy, I lost my job, so I had no income. So I'm in an energy assistance program.
There you go.
It's still hard to afford, but it's made it a lot more affordable than if I wasn't in the program.
Ready to go outside, Bodhi? My biggest fear when it comes to getting our energy bill that might be outrageous is how will we be able to afford it? We just have to take money maybe out of groceries and then allocate that towards our bills.
Being in a basement-style apartment, I found out that the insulation here isn't that great, so I'll put towels up against the windows and under the doors just to make sure it stays insulated in here.
Thank you, Dad.
There's days it's colder inside than it is outside.
Big kisses.
The success that everybody around you has, you want that too, but the struggle is real, like, we have it hard.
This year, Nest is launching a 5-year commitment to lighten the energy burden. By working with partners to make 1 million energy and money-saving smart thermostats available to homes in need, and every new Habitat for Humanity home built in the U.S. this year. And by raising awareness, matching donations, and providing relief. So that every family can have light in the dark and heat in the cold. Learn about the energy burden in your neighborhood at nest.com/powerproject.
Well, many brokerages and their agents recognise the lead generation and branding opportunities that open houses present, but many remain stuck in the pen and paper world, which hampers opportunities to efficiently and accurately measure and refine open house marketing, follow-up and performance. T360, and I'll tell you more about that company in just a moment, has just released its latest in-depth industry case study. This 23-page report explores how 2 large brokerages have improved their open house strategies by bringing them into the digital age. President and CTO for T360, Jack Miller, joins me. Jack, thanks very much for your time.
Oh, it's a real pleasure to be here. I'm glad we could do this.
Jack, first you tell me about T360. What do you do?
So we're a research and management consulting company that's dedicated to residential real estate brokerage. So we help brokerages, franchises, technology companies evaluate what they're doing and do it better.
Stefan Sonopol, I understand, is the founder of the company, and we follow closely the Sonopol Trends Report. It's an annual analysis of the trends in the industry. What trends are you seeing?
Well, we're seeing a lot of change happening right now in U.S. markets because there's a ton of capital coming into this industry right now. So we've had billions of dollars go into new and emerging models over the last few years. So that's been a big trend. There's been a big trend towards enhanced use of digital tools in brokerage, which has, the brokerage industry has somewhat underinvested compared to a lot of these new entrants. And so we're seeing a renewed focus on the use of digital tools to enhance the brokerage business. I'd say that's another big trend we're watching right now.
Yeah, well, there's a number of reports on your website too, and we're going to give you a link to take you straight to the report that we'll be looking at or focusing on in this interview as well. That takes us straight into the case study, which I want to have a look at now, if I could, Jack. Case study I mentioned, it was conducted with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services and also Howard Hanna. It looked at how they leveraged software by a company called HomeSpotter. We'll ask you about those too, to improve their open house strategies. Tell me about HomeSpotter and their software?
Yeah, HomeSpotter, they're a US-based company. They're headquarters in Minneapolis, and they provide a suite of technology products for brokerages and agents.
Okay, now this particular product I think is called Spacio, is that right?
That's right. It's a recent acquisition. Spacio was a standalone company, and just recently HomeSpotter acquired Spacio. And we've been working with Spacio for the last couple of years on evaluating how to improve their product and really bring it to market. And it was successful enough that it got picked up by HomeSpotter.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Before we do, paint the picture for me about why you chose the two brokerages you did, Hathaway Home Services and Howard Hanna. And also give me a bit of an idea about their size, the dynamic.
Yeah, sure. I mean, both of these companies are fairly large firms. I mean, Howard Hanna is 8,700 agents. They're the sixth largest brokerage firm in the United States. So they're a pretty big footprint. They're in 6 or 7 states, hundreds of offices, and a fairly diverse mix of agents that are in their company. So that's part of why we wanted a firm that was big enough where you really couldn't ignore the results that they can create from a tool like this. Georgia Properties is a 1,700 agent firm with 25 offices, a significant player in its markets, and also probably more brokers can relate to a firm at that size. It's not. I mean, Howard Hanna is really a giant. Berkshire Hathaway Georgia Properties is maybe more relatable to more of the audience.
Was there a difference in the dynamics between the results in the two different size brokerages that you noticed, or was it pretty uniform?
Yeah. There are some results. I mean, Howard Hanna has such a large footprint and has a more, I'd say, demographically diverse population. So there's certain parts of its organization that really adopted the tool more readily and were more early adopters. But they're a big enough company where they're going to have a full spectrum. Whereas Georgia Properties had I think because it's a smaller company, more self-similar demographic, they had a higher adoption rate of the product itself. So.
Yeah, and that's the point I was going to make a little bit later in the interview too, and that is about the adoption rate. That's a fairly important and critical thing. It is interesting to note there that the take-up rate was probably higher in the smaller brokerage. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think that the Berkshire Hathaway brand, they kind of, the way that they approach technology is they really want it to be a brand standard, and so they've really pushed on their agents a bit more. And it's a smaller company; it's easier. I mean, if you're smaller, it's a little easier to drive adoption because there's just less people to talk to, and you can actually go out and talk to all of them. A company that's as large as Howard Hanna has a challenge in that they're so big that it takes a while for adoption to pick up.
Okay. Well, as I said at the opening, there is certainly a lot of wastage in the industry, in the property industry, with leads that we spend so much time and money generating. Do you have a feeling for how widespread the inefficient use of those leads is from open houses specifically in the USA?
There's not been, I can't give you a number because it's one of these things that's because it's a problem of efficiency and tracking, that actually being able to track how inefficient the tracking is poses some real challenges, right? But we know anecdotally and from interviewing brokers and talking to our clients that, really the biggest challenge most agents have is in implementing best practices in a repeatable way in their business. And without a tool or a platform or a system in place, that we know it's just a mess. It doesn't happen very consistently because agents are busy, and even at an open house, they're busy. They've got people coming and going. They're engaged with one person. Other people walk in. They may not have a chance to break away. And then we're relying on them to take that data and manually enter it into a system later for follow-up.
Yeah.
That's madness. We know that's not going to happen for most agents. So if you don't have a system, we know there's enormous waste there. It could be, I mean, it could be as high as 50%. It could be higher.
Yeah, we know there's a problem because one of the most common complaints you'll get from a consumer is that, I spoke to an agent and didn't get any follow-up at all. So we first of all know there's a problem. Can we look at the product itself, Spacio? Tell me about it. How does it work?
Yeah, so Spacio is an open house lead capture system where it's designed, it captures the consumer as they come in. There you have a beautiful landing page. It has information about the home. The agent has some control over what's information is gathered. So does the brokerage. The information is captured. Now, that's pretty easy. Most agents would say, no big deal. I'll build a form or I'll have them fill out a spreadsheet. But the real magic happens after that. Spacio is integrated into all the other brokerages systems. So it'll flow the data through to a CRM, to email marketing tools, to anything else that an agent's use. And then it has its own built-in automated follow-up. So it'll help the agent do more effective follow-up with everybody that's signed in. And then it maintains this record of all of the open houses you've had. So if you have another listing coming in the market in the same neighborhood, you can very easily go back and market to everybody that came to an open house that you maybe did 2 weeks ago in the same neighborhood. So it makes it easier to do the best practices for follow-up by integrating with all the tools and making it very measurable. From the brokerage side, you can also begin to measure how well your agents are doing the things they need to do at the open houses, and also how your marketing dollars are being spent. Are they actually driving traffic?
Yeah, that's where I wanted to take you next, because I think there's two elements to this, aren't there? I mean, one, there's the obvious benefits for the agent if they adopt it and use it. But I guess the real tangible benefit in this is the ability for the brokerage owner or the broker to actually be able to track how inefficient or efficient their brokers are with the leads, or their agents are with the leads.
Yeah, there were some pretty fascinating insights from looking at this, because we found out things like, in the Howard Hanna study, that 12% of the consumers that were coming through an open house wanted to be contacted by a mortgage person. They didn't have a mortgage already lined up. And Howard Hanna did not have visibility into that number, and they operate a mortgage company. So it was actually a huge opportunity for them to say, hey, if we have 100 people come through an open house, there's 12 that want to talk to a mortgage professional, and they can immediately turn that into a possible mortgage transaction in addition to the real estate transaction. Yeah, so very high value for the broker to get insights into who's coming, what they need, where they are in the process, what marketing they saw that got them there.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you look at any brokerage or any company, they look for a solution to a single problem, which could actually highlight other opportunities. And that's actually what, for me, has come out of this, reading this report, which we're going to make available too. There's a link to download this free report. Just further to that, because this is more than just highlighting how inefficient we are with our follow-up. Just following on from the point you just made about mortgage opportunities, what are the other opportunities that came out? What did you learn about sales strategy and marketing that you could take into training?
Yeah, there were some really great pieces there as far as what worked in getting people to open houses. So that both of these brokerages added questions saying, what brought you to the open house? Like what got you there? And from this, they were able to learn, like both of these companies learned, that Zillow, which is a national portal here in the U.S., is fairly well known, was a pretty strong driver of open house traffic for both companies. So it allowed them to evaluate their marketing relationship with Zillow. It also allowed them to evaluate their newspaper relationships. Both these companies were doing some level of that, and to look at how effective that was. Many people were coming in off of signage, which is no surprise. I mean, people do come off of signage, but they learned what particular signage was working well. The feathers, the tall feathers that wave, worked much better than just the directional signs. So those, so you learn like interesting insights that it's like, okay, now we can turn that into a best practice. Let's order some more of those, or let's do more advertising in venues that are working.
Yeah. We sort of mentioned this earlier, and that is the take-up is a very important thing. And through both brokerages, you noticed a variation in them, and that's what it's all about. Give me an indication, if you could, about the total volume of agents and what was the take-up.
Yeah, so Howard Hanna, which is the larger firm, about 8,700 agents, they launched the program in February 2018, and they've had, when we did the study in December, about a 56% take up. So a little bit more than half of their agents, a little over 4,000 agents had logged into the product, used it, claimed their account. And then half of those that claimed their account had actually used the product to host an open house during that period of time. So about a quarter of their agents not only claimed the account, set it up, actually went in and hosted an open house. So that's pretty good. For a firm of that size, a 50% take up of anything is awesome.
Absolutely.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Georgia Properties, smaller company, they really mandated this in their training. They said, this is how we want you to run an open house at our company. So they really pushed it. And over 80% of their agents have logged in and have used the product. So they've had very high uptake, and they consider it's the standard. It's what you do if you're doing an open house there.
So interesting. I love that topic about the way we do business around here. The strength of the leadership in a company can talk about, talks a lot to the implementation and success of systems like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm also interested to find out from you if the take-up, was slow at the start. Were there agents in these brokerages who saw it working for someone else and then said, wow, I'm going to get on board with this? Were there some late adopters?
Yeah, that is a best practice, by the way, that any brokerage, if you're bringing a technology into your company, you want to create some people that are really stars in terms of they've done a great job of using it and it's had meaningful business impact. So in the case study we write about, the best example we could find was at Berkshire Hathaway. There's an agent there that really adopted it and has taken a bunch of listings from doing follow-up with people that came through his open houses and really considers it a core part of his personal success strategy in taking more listings and selling more homes in the neighborhood that's in. So we did find that that's it's a best practice to do that, and B, we absolutely found it's a key to getting agents on board in this study.
Jack, can we just go to the bottom line and also your takeaways? Tell me, what was the bottom line? What were the results that we can read about in the white paper?
Yeah, so both of these companies saw a lift in their open house activity. So, but just implementing a tool like this, having a company-wide initiative saying, hey, we're going to help you generate leads, we're going to help you do it through open houses, the agents got excited about it. And so Berkshire Hathaway moved from doing between 200 and 250 open houses a month in 2017 to between 300 and 350. So they added about 100 open houses a month in activity. So that is, you got to think about that. That is 100 more opportunities for an agent to be in the room with people that are potentially buying and selling. It's more personal, one-on-one contact with real people. This isn't an internet lead. This isn't somebody that just typed into a form. This is a person that walked into a house. So they created 100 more. So that's 1,200 more opportunities for agents to do business with people that are coming in who may need to buy, sell, refinance, whatever, right? Howard Hanna similarly saw a lift since they started using the program. They've hosted more than 10,000 open houses and have captured 32,000 visitor leads. Now, keep in mind, 12% of those visitor leads requested contact from a mortgage professional. So it's 32,000 potential, brokerage transactions, but about 3,500, 4,000 potential mortgage transactions as well. So pretty significant lift for both of these companies in adopting this strategy and using a product that helped them do it.
Yeah, there's a great saying I like, and that is that activities come a long way before results. But in that journey to the results, there's also monitoring, which this tool gives you the opportunity. I mean, with those sorts of increase in lead numbers, imagine what you can do if you improve your success rate, improve the numbers, but then tweak your success rate by 10%, and your revenue could probably even double.
And just also to think about how much, now if you have them captured in the system, that makes it easier to follow up, how much more gold there is to be mined out of those 32,000 visitors that Howard Hanna collected, because now they're in one place. The agents can go back to that well and continue to market to those people, build their relationships, and potentially take those listings as well.
Yep. Bottom line, what were the main takeaways for you?
The companies that have worked on this product have really loved it. They thought it's a great product. It's impacting their bottom line. It's making their agents more efficient. And it's a heck of a lot less expensive than buying all these leads. You've already got agents hosting open houses. Let's enable them. Let's empower them. And that was kind of the bottom line, is that both these customers loved the product and thought it was part of a successful strategy for them.
Yeah. Hey, Jack, been fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much. Jack Miller has been my guest. Jack is the president and CTO for T360, and there is a link that will give you to take you straight to that white paper, that report on those case studies. It's fascinating reading, and the product once again is called Spacio, S-P-A-C-I-O. Where can we get more details about that? That'll be in that download?
Yeah, it's in the download, everything you need to know. And Kevin, it's been great being here today. Thank you for the opportunity to share this case study with the industry.
Hi, I'm Steve Pizzardi and I'm Audi's Chief Driving Instructor. Today we're talking about the Audi Sport range. Let's go for a drive. Audi Sport has a long and rich history. It used to be known as RS, literally German for race sport. And they've set world land speed records, they completely revolutionised rallying, and they've completely dominated endurance racing. Audi Sport have been associated with some absolutely legendary names in the sport. Names like Bernd Rosemeyer and Walter Röhrl, Tom Christensen, multi-Le Mans winner, and even Michelle Mouton, who was famously known as the world's fastest woman. She nearly won the World Rally Championship, just a point off. There's no one ingredient to motorsport success. You need world-class engineers, you need world-class engineering, you need a bunch of passionate people that have nothing on their mind other than succeeding at the highest levels of motorsport. Audi Sport has had all of those things, but it's also had one ace up its very sculpted German sleeve, and that's always been Quattro. Born in the early 80s, Quattro, the world's best all-wheel drive system, first revolutionised and then completely dominated rallying. More grip means more acceleration, of course. It seems like a no-brainer now, but back in the day, it was still up for debate whether it was actually an advantage in motorsport. The Audi Sport range has a really broad cross-section of cars. You've got the RS3, the compact street fighter, the RS4, the icon in many ways, the RS5, that's the scalpel of the range, the RS6, the continent crusher, and then the RS7, that's a continent crusher that's had a haircut. And there's also the TTRS, a completely unique car. No one else in the world has got a straight 5-cylinder turbocharged engine, Quattro all-wheel drive, low and wide as that. There's even the RSQ3, the car that brings Audi Sport DNA to the SUV range. And of course, the halo of the entire Audi Sport range, the R8. As soon as you start driving an R8, you can immediately feel the motorsport technology that's gone into that car. And it makes perfect sense because over 50% of the componentry in the R8 is actually shared with the R8 LMS race car that's won at Nürburgring and Bathurst. And actually the R8 LMS is still being actively campaigned in GT series all across the world. It's actually now the most successful GT car in history. It's had more victories than any other brand. Audi Sport's motto is born on the track, built for the road. And as soon as you get in one and you drive one passionately fast, it becomes very apparent. They're just alive. So whether you're a motorsport enthusiast or someone that's passionate about driving fast cars, or someone that loves the technical aspect of cars and the engineering behind it, there's a car for everybody in the Audi Sport range.